the Rocket Right Show. I'm Dr. Kay Solar in the house with Hurricane Betsy Barnes. And our medical segment is brought to you each week by Mary Bird Perkins, Our Lady of the Lake Cancer Center. And we are continuing our discussion with Dianne Andrews.
I sure appreciate the time
you
you all.
Thank you so much for being with us. And, you know, I love your book, COVerUP-ID-2019. We're talking about that. And certainly, as far as the medical issue goes with everything with COVID-19, it's like been one of the most politicized health issues ever, I think. I don't even remember any of the previous pandemics being
Right.
or epidemics being so politicized.
Well, I think H1N1, even though it wasn't lethal, but 60 million people in America under Biden-Obama had, and I'll say Biden-Obama since he is the presumptive president-elect, had, and he kind of led that charge, I think, Ron Klein, his chief of staff, said on CNN and in print that they were lucky because 60 million people had it. We never heard about it. Every day, what do you see? A death toll, 100,000, 200,000. Yeah, they didn't do that. I didn't know 60 million people had H1N1 swine flu.
I know.
But it only killed 12,000. He said if it had been as lethal as this, they would have been in trouble because they did everything wrong. And that was their chief of staff, who is presumed to be the chief of staff for Biden, if indeed he is sworn in as president of the United States. But one thing I would like to say about President Trump, he had the wherewithal, being a businessman, to come in. They've looked at 100 companies, pharmaceutical companies, and they narrowed it down in 2 weeks to 6 candidates. Pfizer, along with BioNTech, who is out of Germany, who does their manufacturing, who the UK today just approved them, and they will be shipping 800,000 doses tonight to them to start vaccinating the people in UK. Now, Pfizer, Operation Warp Speed, as you may remember, I understand Barron came up with the name. His son is what I've read. I don't know if that's completely what he...
Well, I think it is.
It's great.
Compared to other vaccines, it's definitely been Warp Speed.
Well, Dr. Monet Salali, who is the chief scientist on this, was on my research, and he said this yesterday again. Vaccines usually take, he has bought 6 vaccines to the market. He was a pharmaceutical executive at GSK, GlaxoSmithKline, and they're one of the candidates also. It's Pfizer with BioNTech, it's AstraZeneca with Oxford University, it's Moderna, it's Merck, it's J&J, and GSK. Those are the 6 they came down with.
Well, those are the big ones.
Yeah, those are the big ones. But everyone did get, and it's another called Sanofi, which may be a part of it too. They're another out of France, I think. And they're the 5th largest pharmaceutical company in the world. We just don't know them, but they're out of France, and they may be the 7th. But everybody did get money up front. As you may have seen, Pfizer said, I wasn't a part of Operation Warp Speed. That is not true. They were sitting in the meeting, and the agreement is that they get the money when they start manufacturing, which is now. Which is $1.95 billion, 11 to $18 billion this president, and of our money, put into this, but also not just for this. As you know, he had COVID. His wife has COVID. His son had COVID. Barron, this is a family affair. They all had COVID. And he walked out as an obese, over 70, about 74, 75 years old, comorbidities, the age and the obesity. He may have hypertension, I don't know. But 2 things, you all just talked about zinc and vitamin D, which are now therapeutics. Yes, right. And everybody should, that is what my research shows for COVID. Dr. Somali off Newsmax yesterday said he takes 5,000 units of vitamin D3 is the one I think is supposed to be the best. Is that right?
Maximum D3, you can get 10,000 units for $5 at Walgreens.
And again, it's good to check your levels because you can get too much of any
especially
good thing,
zinc.
and so you can be toxic, like with zinc, and you can get toxic side effects, with vitamin D if you took way too much.
Yeah.
But
I understand 3,000 to 5,000 units is okay. Is that right, Doctor?
It seems to be okay.
Yeah, okay.
Anywhere from 1 to 5.
Hey, when I heard him say 5, I went from 2 to 5 yesterday.
If you look at the RDA and everything for health reasons sometimes is more than the RDA only says you need.
And that's required daily allowance. A lot of people don't know.
Yeah, to supplement, they would say, you should take maybe 600 to 800.
Right.
And then, but to get your levels up,
and that's just to build
improve
immunity.
Health, yes, you might need 1,000 to 5,000
Right.
And
a day. But again, checking your levels is good because you're going to know where you're at. Your
where you need to be.
physician can recommend how much you should personally be taking a day.
One thing I'd like to say about vitamin D in my research, which I had no idea, people of color don't absorb vitamin D
Yes.
as easily as Caucasians do because of the skin pigmentation.
Absolutely.
And that would be black, brown, yellow. Any
Yes.
people with melanin don't absorb it
That's
as
right.
quickly. And so when we see that people of color, blacks and Hispanics, have been dying at a greater rate, some believe that is part of that issue, that we
Yes.
don't absorb vitamin D. As you know, it's called the sunshine vitamin, and it's more of a hormone because it improves the immune system
Absolutely.
so well.
It definitely helps with immunity. And in the research that I did, it said that like 82%, I think, of African Americans are deficient.
Right.
And about 70% of Hispanics.
That's
you know,
right.
they didn't go through. So, you know, that's one of
Right.
the things that what
And I
would it
wanted to
hurt
bring that
to be
up for
taking your
people.
vitamin D.
That's
Those
right.
are things that
That's
people
what
can
people
do
should be
without
pushing.
waiting on the vaccine.
That's
We're not
right.
talking about any of the things that you can
But Dr.
personally
K, I
be
don't think
doing
most
now.
blacks
you
know
know, in the
that.
I don't think they
in
do.
the news,
yeah.
they didn't really talk about things that you could be doing right now while we're
Right.
waiting on the vaccine.
Zinc and vitamin D are two things, the therapeutics, and I talk about in the book that
Yes.
everything that Donald Trump took is available for everybody. Regeneron is the cocktail that creates a synthetic antibiotic, and he believes that's what saved his life. Dr. Ben Carson had COVID 2 weeks ago. He was doing very badly. Donald Trump heard about it, the president. He called, and you have to get it under compassionate use. It didn't have the emergency use authorization. I explain what all of those are in my book.
Right.
So it's emergency use now. But when 2 weeks ago, it was not. So Donald Trump got a compassionate use for Dr. Ben Carson to get Regeneron. I have the prices of what all these are. Remdesivir is another therapeutic, but it was developed for Ebola years ago, and it has not paired well. The World Health Organization does not believe it's a good drug.
Well, and just like hydroxychloroquine.
Right.
That's one of the things that the media really hammered on some of the doctors
Well,
that
Dr.
were prescribing it.
Dr.
He
Fauci
was-
wanted remdesivir. We gave him so much money for this. I think in the millions of dollars. It's in my book. I think $75 million this year.
There was no hesitancy.
and never found to work for Ebola or this.
There was no hesitancy on the part of our national leadership team under President Trump.
And
to
Mike Pence, we cannot leave him out
That's
as
right.
first.
That's
It was
right.
Azar, the Secretary of Health and Hospitals, was the leader, and then Mike Pence took it over. Azar said, it's in my book, and I'm doing another edition in the book. He said that this is the greatest thing that has ever been done in medical field for the forthright for humanity. If there's ever another vaccine, I think they're going to use the mRNA. Now, all 6 candidates, some are using vector technology. Everyone is not using the mRNA.
Now, what is the difference in vector
Well, that
technology
is
for
a
some?
whole
That's a
different
whole show.
story.
Yeah,
That's a
that's
whole
a
different
show.
story with
Yeah.
with a lot more.
That may be
because
why they're
there are
behind.
different types of vaccines.
That's right.
And I think that's the thing to
But if-
point
But
out
this is
now.
the first time for
Because-
messenger RNA, and
Yes.
that's what people need to understand. What it did, it took it down 9 months from 4 to 25 years. 25 years to develop a vaccine.
And honestly, I listened to this
Thanks,
round
President
table where one of the guys who is over the vaccine center at Vanderbilt said, if we would think in advance, this type of technology, they can predict what are going to be some of the future diseases.
That's right.
And could, in advance, have vaccines rather than trying to
Let's
do
talk
it
about cancer. That kills 600,000 people a year.
Yeah.
Let's talk about lung cancer that kills 170,000 last year,
well, and we-
150 from cigarette smoke. I like to put it in perspective. 260,000 people, of course, is too many. And if it's your grandmother, and
Right.
my grandmother, and she was 110 years old, I'd still be upset.
330 million people. That is a very, very small number of people.
Well, if you put it in respect to other diseases.
Right.
Heart disease is the #1 killer in
Absolutely.
this country, and it killed over 750,000 people last year. See, people, when you see it on your
Right.
screen every day, they don't know if it's big or small for health.
Right.
it just feels like fear.
That's right.
It just
Well,
feels
and I can
like
tell
fear.
you that folks, they know a lot of the things that they shouldn't be doing to get heart disease. They
Right.
definitely know
These are
some of the
things we
they
can
shouldn't be doing
prevent.
to get some. and they still don't do it. So when we have this vaccine, are those same people going to go take the vaccine, or are they not? That's a big question.
And it will
out
be
there,
free
too.
thanks to President Trump. He has said this vaccine will be free. Now, the mRNA is a 2-shot vaccine. You do have to, and you
Right.
get transient sickness like the COVID
flu
itself. Like the COVID. You get fatigue. That's a real big sign of this. So you do get transient for about 24 hours for 10% of the people who take the vaccine.
Well, I would say
So much great
stay
information.
tuned to Governor John Bel Edwards' press conferences to see where we are with delivery of that, and we'll get 1.46% of all the vaccinations that are delivered to the United States right here in Louisiana, and our healthcare workers will be the first to have those. So
and
Dianne-
nursing home patients.
And nursing home
it's the most
patients also.
vulnerable is the way Azar has it.
Before we let you go, you have to choose your hat, put it on, because we only have a couple of
I want a
seconds
Christmas
left,
tree.
and we want
That's
to make
right.
sure everybody checks out her book. We'll have the information on our
COVerUP-ID-2019.
Facebook page at Rocket Right Radio. Stay tuned for what's going on in the arts
we don't put it on.
downtown.
That's right, with
Up
Renee
next.
Chatelaine. We'll be right back. Thank you, Dianne Andrews.
Oh, thank you. It's been a pleasure. And we'll do this some more on my show.
Let's
and
do it.
some other things together. I think we can do
Sounds
some
good.
good work. Thank you.
We love it.